Hi, this is Weekly Reflections, and I'm Nancy Joy. This week, tomorrow, in fact, today, if it's Monday where you're listening to this, begins Mercury retrograde for 3 weeks, which I'm not going to go into detail because you know what? A lot of times in Mercury retrograde, we focus just on what I'm going to talk about in this reflection. We focus on what not to do, what could go wrong, how to avoid it, instead of seeing it as we want to see it. I call this week's blog reflection The Oyster and the Pearl for obvious reasons, right? And the quote that came from Ezekiel is what I wanted to share. We have outgrown the doing. It's time for the being. And I love that. Of course, it raises a lot of questions because we are so conditioned to the doing. And the doing in the 3D physical world is what makes things happen. But it really just isn't true. If you listen to Global Information Network and other spiritual teachers out there, they're going to tell you it's what you feel, it's what you believe, it's what you live in that creates what you want. So the doing isn't going to get you through. I know we're all used to the old sayings like, that have so programmed us, like money doesn't grow on trees. In other words, you got to get out there and make it happen. Meaning do something. Unless you're working hard, doing something, then it's not going to happen. Unless, of course, you're doing something out there is something that fills your heart. And in that case, it's not working hard. It's joyous. It's filling you, and you are loving every minute of it. There is a big difference there. And also, I want to point out, why would money growing on trees be any more of a difficult illusion than the ones we're stuck in, like debt, paying our bills, income taxes, for instance? Why not money growing on trees? It's an energy, right? So you may be asking, what's that mean, the being? Am I supposed to just sit around and meditate all day and pray all day? And the answer is yes and no. Kind of goes something like this. It doesn't, the way you're living your life isn't bringing about desired results because you spend too much time focusing on what isn't working, focusing on what you're worried about, focusing on how to change it instead of just being what you want to change. And another good one I ran into was stop trying to heal and live a healed life. Well, that's what we're talking about. That's what the being is. It doesn't, let's give an example here. If you're passionate about travel, as I can be, and you want to go to Egypt and Peru and Yucatan or India or wherever, Indonesia, wherever your heart is calling you, but you're feeling like you have to either go into debt or you have to save and scrimp your pennies, and maybe if you work real hard in a year or two, you'll be able to take this trip. Well, it's pretty fruitless, and that isn't what's going to create the trip. You might, by your doing, go on the trip, but it will be fraught with all your worry, and you'll be manifesting all your fears on it, and it won't be the free, easy, no strings attached of learning how to create by being that which you most vibrate with, that which you are most passionate about, and spending a lot less time concentrating. And here's where we come to the oyster and the pearl. Spend a lot more time, if your beingness is the oyster shell, and your soul is the oyster, the moist part inside, spend a lot more time on paying attention to the beautiful pearl that in every moment you are creating in your beingness as an oyster, rather than the irritant of the particle or two or three of sand that comes in. It is the irritants that are sparking the pearl, but if you don't focus on them, you are no longer frustrated by them, you are no longer stuck in them. So it's an important message today. And as you take this travel, for instance, as you are being this trip, let's say it's a trip to Egypt, close to my heart, by the way, coming up October 28th to November 8th at Heart Lights. But, say you want to go on it. start being on that trip while you're sitting, while you're meditating, while you're making a meal, even while you're cleaning on the toilet. Imagine yourself in the King's Chamber, the Great Pyramid. Imagine sailing down the Nile. Imagine the brilliant blue sky against the tan of the Scott Desert and the beautiful blue Nile. Imagine the feeling of returning to your ancient homeland. And, imagination is creation, but we get confused. Is imagination being? Yes, if you are in the feeling of that imagination and not the mental part of it, it is definitely what you are creating. And so that's what it's time to stop, as the quote says, stop the doing and begin the being. And it's really important. Let's take it a step further. We're all feeling the amazing new earth now. We almost can touch the new free energy, the healthier bodies, the no GMO food, no more Frankenfood. It's almost coming to us, not in the terms of no, but in the terms not no GMO, but it doesn't even exist. That's where you want to be. You're not trying to get rid of it. You're being in the place where it doesn't even exist. Craig Braden gives a wonderful example about a woman's tumor and how a group that knew how to be in beingness stood around her. I think this was in Japan. And in 10 minutes of being in that space where she had an absolutely healthy body, not even thinking about shrinking a tumor. It was her liver, I think, totally healthy liver. And they just kept being present with that. And in minutes, it actually shrank and disappeared. And Craig Braden makes the point that this is the real way to pray. We've been taught to wish, to ask for, to say what we don't want, or to please fix this and please do that. That really isn't praying, and that really isn't going to get you where you want to be. So it kind of reminds me, of the old song, wishing and hoping and praying, won't get you into my heart. It won't. You have to be in that space with your heart and your feelings. So for this Monday morning, really pay attention on the little miracles in your life. Give them focus. Blow life into them so more and more come and expands into this great new reality that you're already living in. It does seem odd to be already living in that space where these things are here, and yet you don't see them mirrored. Well, you don't see them mirrored back to you because you're putting too much focus on the fact that they're not here, and not enough focus on the fact that they're here. It's simple, energetic physics. I'm sure you've all done a lot of research on how that works. So this is a reminder today. You get to choose. You're the oyster. Are you going to be the irritant, the sand, or are you going to focus on the pearl? And that's where I'm going to leave you. You can stop being frustrated right now. Start in your beingness, no matter what your chores are, what you have to do. Be in that space and catch the magic. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye now.